Paul McGinley, who played the Red Sox. How you doing? Yeah.
Wait, I gotta get you out of the frame.
All right. Ready? All ready? Okay. All right, everybody. We finally got everybody in here. All right. My pleasure. Finally, first time here. People, Vincent Herring, Eric Alexander. They're playing at the showcase tonight and tomorrow night. Go check them out. And on the rhythm section with these guys tonight, Jeremy Connell, piano. Bass. George Lewis on drum. Right. Take it away, guys. Let's see it. All right. It's all yours. All right. Okay, I'll count. Yes. One, two.
mic talk, and I hope that you can hear me in the very back. But we're going to have instruction as well as play while we're here. And the first song we played is one composed by Hank Mobley. It's entitled A Peck, A Sec. Funny name, but a good song. Peck, A Sec. We're going to continue with something entitled Sweet Mother. Sweet Love. You ever said that? Sweet Love. Yeah.
Vamp it up front a little bit.
Vamp up front a little bit. 1, 2, 1. Interesting when we played this song, Eric said, count it off. I said, no, you count it off. So the way he counted it off is he said, fast as humanly possible. Kind of an interesting way to describe the song. And so, let's say we're supposed to do a clinic portion, that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to hand out my book, which is called Logic and Critical Thinking in Jazz Improvisation. And you can take the book, look at it, pass it around. Nobody steal my book, please. Yeah. and I can highly recommend this book. Some of the things I learned standing next to a guy like this, you know, be sure you're with him all the time. So anyway, you can order the book on Amazon.com. You can take this card. This you can keep. It's just an advertisement for the book itself. Got to tear out any pages. Huh? Tear out any pages. Don't tear out any pages. Take a look at it, see how it's laid out, and pass by. And it's basically different styles of improvisation and things that we use in our improvisation. For instance, in this particular song, I demonstrate on the blues. If we're playing a blues, I'm doing something called a dominant pentatonic scale. Jazz education is fairly new, and when I say dominant pentatonic scale, I don't know if anybody else has ever used that term. I'm not claiming anything. I'm just saying that's what I'm calling. So it's going to be. So if we're playing the blues, I'm just playing all roots. great notes. Can't play a wrong note as long as you make the change. And part of the way I came up with this during the pandemic, everybody was writing books, was I just started remembering how I learned how to play. And once I learned the blues scale, it was going over everything. I only knew that blues scale in one or two keys. Didn't matter what key the song is, one of those blues scales was going on. And eventually, you know, I wasn't able to hear chord changes as maybe as well as needed, and my development was hindered by just not having any structure and learning the right stuff. Now, I had a chance to study with great people, and eventually they led me down the right path. But in the beginning, this didn't happen. So I came up with this system, and I kind of equated to like if you're a kid coloring in a coloring book, you have numbers. Say number 2 is orange right here, number 1 is black here, green there, and they follow this pattern. All of a sudden, they finish it all. They painted a tiger in the forest, and it looks pretty damn good. And so they started learning to follow these things. So with this system, it's like you don't play any wrong notes, but more importantly, you play only great notes. And you can use this system in all kinds of things. So I'll play a blues for a second. Same scale. That was different. That was off the +5. I'll do the same thing, and then on bar 4, I'll play from a flatted 5. All the same notes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I really like that. The what you call dominant pentatonic. It's like a major pentatonic with a 7th instead of 6. What is that?
Let me explain. Okay, so if you learn a regular pentatonic scale, you know a C major pentatonic is the same notes as an A minor pentatonic, same notes. Unfortunately, in our education system, we usually never get around to learning more pentatonics. So a minor 6 pentatonic is exactly like a minor pentatonic. Drop the 7, add the 6, right? And just like it has a relative, the dominant pentatonic, what I'm calling the dominant pentatonic, is going to be the same notes as a minor 6 pentatonic. So if you have a D minor pentatonic, that's D, F, G, A, C. If you have a minor 6, it's D, F, G, A, B. Sounds like this. Right? So now, if you go up a 4th on that, all of a sudden you got what I'm calling the dominant pentatonic. All right? So this dominant pentatonic I use all the time. Say I'm playing that chord. It'll teach you to play a Lydian dominant over there. Now I'm playing it. So all of a sudden I'm playing that same dominant pentatonic beat, and every note is great in there. Every note is great, and there's different ways of coloring. Also use this to color extensions beyond that. In the book, there's a transcription and analysis of a solo I did on a song called Caravan. And on Caravan, for concert C, I don't want to say altered, raised 9, flat 9. Actually, on my recording, I alternate between the two. And so I use a system of triads when playing this color. And you should really get a chance to check out that solo, and the analysis is really great because it's a nice system that works perfectly. And it's something I use all the time where I'm splitting up these triads. So in the diminished scale, you're going to have 4 triads. If you don't know that, take my word for it. Believe me, it's true. And so those 4 triads, instead of playing, that's the 4 triads. Now, for instance, to that solo, it starts. So all of a sudden, that's like this triad and this triad. So just different colors and different styles of improvisation to get you through things. So if you're playing with an incredibly great musician like this, you can survive and be able to have good things going on. So that's what my book is about: different improvisation styles that I've developed over the years. And like I said, I use this stuff all the time. All of a sudden there, I'm coloring these chords in a way that sounds very interesting. It doesn't sound like it's a system, but it is. It's all built upon things that I've come up with in my little system for you to consider doing. So, you know, if you guys have any questions, like when we were playing just in time. All down the pentatonic across that. Now bring in other things, obviously, but that's the core of what that's going across. So it's just interesting styles to try out and check out. And anyway, I'm encouraging you to consider purchasing my book. You can find it on Amazon.com or SheerMusic.com. SheerMusicPublishing.com, but Amazon for sure. And really good book. And I'm not just saying it because of my book and I want you to buy it, but I'm saying it because it is really a good book and I hope you consider buying it. All right.
I want clarification. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 7.
1,
If it's
2,
a dominant
3,
chord.
5, 7.
And if it's a minor chord and you transmute it, it's 1, 3, 4.
So a minor chord, if you're talking about a minor 6 pentatonic, just drop the 7
But you were using that thing.
No, I was using that to show people the relationship. But like a C major pentatonic, it's going to be the same notes.
Drop the 7, use the 6.
Right.
But it actually is the one you use.
Well, you know where it comes from. McCoy Tyner is really, for me personally, it's really off. But you're constantly Coltrane that's the sound right there. That's the sound that's going right there. And so this is just taking it in simple steps. If you listen to McCoy, there's a record called The Real McCoy. Maybe we'll tune. You know, Joe Henderson plays very conventional. I mean, very well, but he plays very conventional. McCoy Tyner, those dominant pentatonic shifts, just constantly, it's just amazing what he does. So check that out. You'll start to hear it more. Now that I said this to you, you'll listen to it maybe in a different way. So you'll listen a little bit better. And we'll play a blues, a slow blues, and you'll hear some of those things. Now, I purposely didn't start my book with what people refer to as bebop scales. When you were growing up, did you learn bebop scales?
Yeah.
Okay, see, first of all, he's an exceptional person, and I can imagine that for him that was very rewarding and enlightening. But I can tell you, when I'm teaching now, I cannot begin to tell you how many students I get, and they'll say, okay, and their eyes are glazed over because they already think that they know exactly what it is, and they think that this is a waste of their time. And so I don't bother to go through it with them unless they are enthusiastic and really want to get it. I'll give you a quick overview of my version of this. I used to study with a guy named Phil Woods. He's an incredible player. And my first lessons with Phil, and I'm hearing him play this all the time. I'm like, yeah, how do you get to that? What is that? He said, what is what? Playing this here, that bebop skill. So he wasn't into that. The aim of it, anything, just language. And so I used to also sit in on Barry Harris's classes. He used to have a club called the Jazz Culture did in New York. I used to go by there and I used to listen to him explain this. And I didn't like the feel there was no explanation. And Barry was different. But it was very valid. But I came up with my own version of explaining these things. And I'll give you a quick overview. All right, so this is the key of F. I think most people learn. Alright, so that's from the 5. Everything being from the 5 is the same. So from the 1, that's from the 1 in the tone center. From the 3, and then from the 5 you want to from the 7. So now all of a sudden you got it from 1 through 5 and 7. There's more. We'll leave it at that. But those are important. Now if you go to minor, those things are constantly going. Now, obviously, I'm mixing and matching other things in it, but at its root, that's pretty much what it is. Okay, that's two a little bit of 2 or 3 of the improvisational styles that are in there. Of course, the book goes through it much more in depth, gives you exercises on it. There's also things online on YouTube to go along with the book to help you as guidance. So we're going to play.
Before that, I just want to make it clear, when Vincent was articulating, explaining his, some of his concepts, I was listening very carefully because we are, generally speaking, arriving at Grandma's house, the same Grandma's house, but we take different ways of getting there. All jazz musicians you will meet who are of a high level, at a high level, have spent a lot of time on their own figuring out how to solve these puzzles, as it were. But they have their own take on it. And, hopefully you'll remember that when you find the easiest way to access something in terms of playing harmony or getting through something, the easiest thing is what you should do. The easiest thing for you. You shouldn't do what you should do anything or what I do if it's easy. But you should not do something because you admire somebody and they told you to do it. If you have a different way of looking at it, that's a much better way to get to Grandma's house for tea at 4. So I was listening really carefully to what he was saying, and I had never thought about getting to that sound that he was getting to with that particular system. But I have a way that gets more or less to that exact same sound with a slightly different system. So it's interesting, very much so, to always bear in mind that it's a personal process after all. We take as much as we can get from teachers, but if you find a way to get to something, you should hold on to that very dearly. It makes life easier. So, with that having said, do you have?
No, what you said is it's so important. It's like even with kids, not kids, but everybody playing saxophone. I'm like, always look for the easiest way to play something. Easiest way. Just because this is the way it's in the book doesn't mean that's the best thing. Always look for the easiest. And the same thing when we were talking about harmony and approaching chords. And even so, as I explained it to people, I said, this is how I think of this. Like, for instance, play a C major chord for a second.
Major. That sounds like a sus.
C major.
Six? C major 9, yeah.
So there, I'm playing minor pentatonics, or I'm thinking of it as a minor pentatonic. And the reason why, because when I'm playing piano, I said, okay, well, that's a C major, and if you look at the top of the voicing, that's an E minor. And like if you're playing a 3-6-2-5, it's like D minor, A, C, or E minor, A, D minor, G, E, A. And so I was like, oh, so when you look at that, so that's why I started thinking of it like that. But as I explained that to students, you think of it however you want, as long as you get to the same notes. And then you build upon this, and you go to what you go. But it's a system of doing it. So what Eric said is so profound. You're looking for the easiest way to do it. Do you agree? You're looking for the easiest, simplest way.
That goes for technique too.
Yeah.
Really, whatever the easiest way to get through a passage is 99.99% of the time the correct fingering when the saxophone is constructed. Some people like to use weird fingerings, and more power to them, but almost all of the time, the easiest way to do something is the correct fingering with regard to how the saxophone was constructed. That's why we have these side keys and chromatic keys. Be really lazy. Don't work hard. For real. That goes with your mouthpiece and your setup and everything. You don't want to be dying up here because there's a lot to think about, a lot to hear, and a lot to play. And if you're struggling physically, you're in a world of trouble. Really, you can't get to square two. You're stuck in square one.
As long as you guys are lucky that you have this incredible shop here.
Oh, yeah.
So you find all kinds of stuff. If you don't live in a place like this, very few places have any. There are very few shops like this that exist. I count them on one hand. But so you have a chance to try all kind of equipment. You have a chance to, other words, you gotta buy this stuff, and like, I don't like it, you know. And, but at least here you can come, you can try out everything, they got everything for you. If they don't have it, they'll order it and get it, because they wanna have it for, other people to try. So that's actually an advantage for you. I live in two places, but I live in New York City, so there are stores like that, but not as necessarily as complete as this. So this is a unique thing. So for Paul Master, yay, Paul. So and being able to have clinics like this right next door to the shop, yeah, that's a big plus also. Before we proceed to plan a little bit more, anybody have any questions?
You play something as slow as humanly possible.
I'm gonna play something. What was your question?
Yeah, I kind of have a strange question here. My name's Eddie Matthews. You guys ever think about or activate your sinuses when you're thinking about manipulating your sound?
Sorry, say it again?
Yeah, so do you guys ever think about activating your sinuses or your nose or your nasal passages when you were thinking about manipulating your sound, like maybe being brighter or more?
Okay. He asked if I ever messed with my sinuses or thought about it when trying to shape and sculpture my sound. No, in my particular case, the answer is no. When I was a little kid learning how to play, I had a great saxophone teacher. And his name was David Peterson. He was a woodwind specialist. And his father did Broadway shows, and he did Broadway shows, and other things in addition to that. But most importantly, he played flute, clarinet, oboe, English horn, all kinds of different saxophones. Were very good. And so the first thing he got me doing was breathing correctly. What people would call correctly. Another little fault in our education, breathe in the diaphragm. You say that to every little kid. Little kid, nobody knows what the hell the diaphragm is. 90% of the time, the teacher does not know either. And I'm not just saying that as hyperbole, I'm just telling you, they just don't know, right? And so I was lucky. I had a great saxophone teacher right up front, and no nonsense, nice guy, but he got me breathing correctly. And so now as an adult, I've heard great saxophone players breathe in their chest. Sound great. And I've heard sinuses. I never even thought about that because it just doesn't come into play unless I'm doing circular breathing, which I know how to circular breathe, but I just don't do it because musically I don't hear it. It's like the best.
Prove it, man.
The best circular breather I ever heard was probably Clark Terry, because you never knew what was going on. You never knew, and he played lines like that. And
Wallace Roney Jr. does that pretty good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out. We were on tour, and we get to the end of the tune, and you'd be holding a note, and I'm about to pass out. And started. Why? How are you holding the note so long? And he said, "I'm circular breathing," but you couldn't even see it.
Right. But Clark Terry, unbelievable. Because you're playing lines for days, and it's like you're just effortless. And then, you understand how to get to that, but he got to that. And then some other people. There's a classical piece that Wynton Marsalis playing on trumpet, and sorry, I think it might even be Flight of the Bumblebee or something stupid, but unbelievable. It's like, and the only way to play that is circular breathing, and it's just like flawless, just perfect. So people can do that, and so anyway, I never got into that, but I got into learning how to breathe right, and these little components go together with helping to produce the sound. And one thing I did get into, I remember with David, my teacher at the time, he used to always have me trying to exhale air a certain kind of way. And he says, like when you come home from school and you have to do your homework and you have a long day and you go, he said, right there, that involuntary muscle expansion, that's probably when your throat is in its most open position. And he's like, that's what we want to get to when we're producing the sound. Now, at some point I heard Gato Barbieri, who was popular when I was a kid growing up, and used to have this sound that used to go. That's comes with shrinking your esophagus, and it's a whole different thing. I never did anything up here, but that was changing it changed those colors. And I find I do it a little bit, maybe a little bit, you know, for color or effect on the sound. I don't even think about it, I just do it. And but no, you know, I try to keep things as simple as possible. On my best days, I'm almost a spectator. Like when I play well and stuff, I'm almost a spectator, just watching. But if I'm not, you know, very creative that day, I have to rely on systems that I have. I have to rely on different things in my technique that I can do, so that when you're listening to it, it still sounds fresh, you know. And I'm sure it's the same with Eric. You know, he's got a million systems that he can play. Some days his mind is fertile, and he just plays all kind of incredible stuff. He did a recording a few years ago. I hated to call him up to tell him how good it was. This is, you know, there's a historical recording by Freddie Hubbard called, I think it's the Hub of Hubbard, and there's a track on there which is just one of those things. Crazy tempo, and Freddie plays on this so unbelievable. Just like, yeah, just from a technical standpoint, it's just incredible what he plays. And so Eric did the song, incredible tempo, right? I listened to it, I was like, jeez Christ, man. And he plays so good on it. I called up this friend of mine that does a lot of transcriptions. In fact, he's helped me lay out my book. And I told him about this solo. He said, yeah, it is pretty good. About less than an hour later, he had written out the whole solo. I sent it to Eric. I said, yeah, your solo's pretty good on that. It took us almost an hour to write it out. Well, I don't think Wesley can play it, but he wrote it out. But yeah, no, it's like, and so I'm sure on that day, his mind was super full.
No, I gotta interrupt you. This is one of the strange truths about this art form and about being a musician. Oftentimes we feel that we're really nailing it, and we hear it back and we're really not. I don't want to offend anybody. Sometimes you're smelling your own, you know what, which means you think you're playing good and then you're off your game. Sometimes when you feel very uncomfortable, you're actually editing and playing less, and you might finish a take. I mean, this for me, this is very true. Finish a take and think, oh my God, that is wretched. I'm gonna have to recalibrate, and you listen back and say, oh, it's really good. So that's just one of those things. I was almost suicidal after that thing. I thought it was the worst.
But I know since you know.
I refuse to listen to it.
I said that's one of those tracks you can actually pat yourself on the back.
But the point I was trying to make, and hopefully it was well made and well taken. This is a very the whole interaction between the listener and how we feel is very gray area, very nebulous. So we owe ourselves a little bit of space. You know, the mirror would be wise not to send our image right back at us and freak us out all the time. Sometimes what's coming out is very much appreciated. So you just want to, like you said, you just want to stay at a certain bar level, calm down, and let things happen, because often we're unaware of how good it is or how bad it is. That's happened to me a number of times. You know, probably if I was drunk or something, I thought I was nailing it, and then I hear the recording, it's awful. So, yeah,
It's all be careful. Any other questions?
Yeah, I want to ask Eric one thing about about your equipment, but also like how do you think of sound production? Like aside from the breathing part, what do you like embouchure, throat, tone, all that stuff?
that's a good question. So I would have answered the sinus question with what I'm about to answer for you. When I do long tones, I go totally against the grain. We would never play like this. I breathe through my nose in between notes, and I keep my embouchure fixed in a very rigid manner, and I tune octaves, and I go through this, you know, First of all, that's how I do it. It's like a fart in a windstorm. Subtone. I hold them longer than that. I'm just trying to go quick. I would go up in half steps in octaves. So you can tune to a reference instrument or a chord tuner, but if your octaves are, it doesn't matter if you tuned up to, you have to have a very intimate relationship with this instrument, which is a total bastard creep. They're all out of tune. They're all out of tune. You have to know it very well and know how to manipulate the pitch level. And when I would get to the end of this sequence, I'd probably be on G and then altissimo G. Oftentimes it would be, I mean, I have the quavers, it hurts so much. Because I've been clamping my embouchure the whole time. So from the beginning, what I'm trying to do is find my default embouchure, which is a subtone embouchure.
I was gonna
And
say,
I
how do you-
never change it. See, if you can subtone up in the palm keys, you can play like Stan Getz or Coltrane. That's hard. You have to have a lot of strength right here. The other thing is if I start putting more volume, actually my air pressure is the same if I'm playing quietly or loud. Have you ever noticed this? What? I'm out of air. So when you put a little pressure on the reed and you get the pushback, that's what enables you to play longer. So playing quietly doesn't mean less air. It just means something almost indescribable. Most of what's coming out is air and a tiny bit of tone. If I want to play loud, if I have that subtone embouchure, I can be pretty sure that I will never be really ugly. Now, if I didn't have the subtone embouchure, you don't even want to hear what's going to come out. It's just wrong. The embouchure that they told you to use when you studied legit saxophone, or I did, I got into jazz really late, is exactly the opposite embouchure that you would use in a jazz setting with a jazz kind of setup. All of the cats that I admire, particularly the ones that came to prominence in the 40s, they all played in big bands. A lot of them were playing second tenor. If they had to play with this embouchure in the low register, they'd be fired. So they had to learn to play. Right? They had to. Johnny Griffin used to have battles with Dexter Gordon in hotel rooms, and they had to give him a bottle of gin to shut him up. They'd have a subtone battle. Who could subtone more? You know, like, and then knock, knock, knock. You gotta stop. Johnny Griffin told me to play subtone all over the horn, top and bottom. The only way you can do that is to get the first setting. And I keep that at all times.
Your teeth are out of the way to do that?
Teeth? No, the teeth are on top of the mouthpiece.
No, I mean, your lower teeth.
Well, I'm not biting the reed. What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, as far as muscular.
I'm dropping the jaw. Right. So here's the thing: you're allowed to drop your jaw. You're not allowed to move your lips. Because if you're going to go play altissimo like that, and then roll your lip back to get altissimo, it's not functional. So another thing you can practice is play the lowest version of a D or a C or whatever on the tenor. Do it with subtone, and then don't move your lips and play the altissimo. It hurts, you got to build a scar. But after you destroy all the nerve endings in your lip, I'm not kidding. After you do that, you'll be happy. I can even take a couple of days off and my face just sets. Right? Vince knows this. We were talking in Italy some years ago. He said, "I can't believe it. I didn't play for a week, and I actually remember that when we were in Perugia." He said, "I guess you just did it so much. My face is settled." But when I was younger, if I didn't play for a day, I'd be trying to find, where my lip should go. Have you guys experienced that, like discomfort? So really, you just want to kind of beat yourself up. It's like weightlifting for sax armature. You just got to pulverize it.
So you do drop your jaw in the lower register.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I drop my jaw if I'm sharp. But yeah, in a second. But so the rule again is: do not change your embouchure in terms of your lips. Here's one more thing: if you want to play like the players, at least that I adore, you should have a serious face or going into a slightly discontented face. This opens up the sound. If I go extreme, like a sad, evil clown, it's so loud. Okay, I'm not going to do that. But if you smile, now some people recommend smiling. If you smile, if you want to play like that, do it. But the slightly sad face is the way to go. I mean, for me, in my opinion, but everyone's got. Yeah, you had a question?
Yeah, I just following up on the mouthpieces. I know you've used lengths for a long time. It's a little different, but I know you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually not a link.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean,
Well, it's the second time I've ever played it. I made a deal with the devil at the crossroads. No, I mean, I'm trying it for about a month. It's really good. I'm trying to get a reed that's settled on it. I just switched. This one sounds better now, I think. But this is a better sax mouthpiece, Vernon. It's called Vernon Metal. 6-star.
You were playing 6-star like that.
Way long ago. Yeah, long time ago. But I've been playing something, until today. It was more or less a 7 or 7-star. And I'm sure I'll play it again. But I am committed to playing this for 1 month to see what happens.
What did you play before that?
I've always played metal links. Always. Without exception. Except for a week when I tried to sound like Junior Cook when I was 20 years old. And then somebody said, "You sound like crap." Put your metal link back on. It's awful.
Junior cooked.
I used to go to his jam session in Washington Heights, and he was so burning. And I thought, if I get a hardcore mouthpiece, I'll sound like Junior Cook. A week later, I think it was Joe Farms or somebody said, "You sound like crap. Put that away. It sounds like rubber dub dub 3 minutes." Yeah.
With the sound. Sounds very personal, and everybody has slightly different takes on it. And what he said there is very valid, very different from me. So my embouchure is no embouchure. It's pretty much exactly as I am here. It's just no embouchures. There's nothing going on. And the other thing is, there's a certain kind of looseness. It's completely loose. There's no air escaping, but there's nothing. And when I was growing up, classical saxophone was terrible. And I hated, there was a really good classical saxophone professor where I was at school, but I just hated everything about it. Now, classical saxophone is like incredible. Guys are like, I can't believe how good they are, because I missed like 25 or 30 or 40 years of it. And then when I started hearing these guys, I cannot believe how good they are.
Jeez.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. But regarding sound, it's like, for instance, every saxophone teacher tells you to do long tones. I don't do long tones unless I haven't played for a while. Then maybe I'll do long tones. But I think, and it's just my hypothesis, I think I get it through other things I'm playing, but I just don't do it unless I'm, you know, like I say, you know, my old lady talked me into going to the beach and I played for 3 days or something, and I'll play, and I use a very small setup. And I think Eric's is a bigger setup than mine. So my mouthpiece is about a 5, and my reed is a 2. And that, so it's so easy to play, you know, so if I'm playing, I play soft. So anyway, you know, from soft and loud, and it's just like physically nothing demanding. I could play all day, nothing. You know, I remember as a kid I used to get you know, it hurt so much that I couldn't play anymore.
Yeah, that's bad. You put paper over your whatever.
I never did that one, but you know, I used to try to practice marathon hours, but couldn't do it because it was just like killing me. But now, I don't try to put marathon hours. If I did, it wouldn't matter. I could play. It's just not physically demanding, so it becomes very easy for me to play. Yet I'm still able to get a good sound or a sound that I like, and I play the full register of the horn, and it's not taxing at all. Yeah.
Do you associate that with the alto particularly?
You know, I play tenor also, and I really like, I love playing tenor, and I do pretty much the same thing.
Stay in your lane, man.
Hey, you should talk, you did a record on strings with the alto, yeah. You guys did a record of strings with the alto, how about that?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that stayed in your lane.
You know what Vincent said though. I want to just add that he doesn't have to do long tones because he plays melodies from beginning to end with a nice sound. And think about it. If you sit down and play through 5 or 6 ballads with a nice sound and hold the notes out loud and play the melody correctly, pay attention. Does my sound good or not? Don't use too much vibrato. Just straight tone. Listen to the pitch. That's a long tone.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I mean,
even
sitting around going,
even in exercises, like I remember, like I said, my first teacher, David Peterson, he was always trying to get you to do exercises that incorporated more than one thing. So for instance, if I was, there's a little thing that Joe Henderson used to do, he used to take a triad, so is that a long tone? I would sit there doing that forever, trying to get it. So I do this for building technique on that, but then, but I'm doing it in a way that it's almost like the equivalent to a long tone, I guess. You know? So I'm just saying that just sitting down going, I in particular don't do that, but I don't discourage my students from doing it, but I explain to them that's not what I do, you know, for generating sound. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention how I think it's great the way you guys are like playing off of each other about how to think about things, which is and how you're kind of saying you can do it this way or this way, and then you're finding out stuff even about how each other is doing things, even here, which is so valuable.
Well,
because it's such
normally we wouldn't talk about this stuff.
Right,
We're
but
trying
it's
to
such
kill
an
each
open-
other. It's just.
but it's such an open, it's like you're like investigating right now and exploring these different ways to approach it. That's coming out of a whole mindset that's like open and saying, okay, there's different ways to do it.
I enjoy playing with Eric, and one of the reasons why we work well together is there's no ego involved. You know, I love the way the
Speak
guy
for yourself,
plays.
man.
I love the way the guy plays. He has some ideas. I listen to him and learn what I can. You know, I'm just happy to explain anything I'm into or whatever. And he can care less. He take it, you know, and no one's uptight about anything. So if he says this is the best way to do it, it's his way of doing it. I have something different. He doesn't. And so it's that works well. And being playing jazz, you have to consider that you're a lifelong student. You know, I consider myself a student of music. I try to learn where I can and how I can. And you know, so that's one of the reasons I enjoy playing there.
Just curious, did you guys ever play bigger mouthpieces and you decided I'm gonna go down to a smaller mouthpiece?
I've played all the way up to an 11 and down to a 6 or 5-star. You know, the tip opening is not necessarily, I mean, the bigger it is not necessarily prohibitively difficult. Because what you're really trying to find is the right amount of resistance so that you can hold the pitch steady. So when I was playing that 11 or whatever the hell it was, I probably had a very soft read on it. Now there are some people that are probably the different breed of human being. I mean, I think Benny Golson was playing specially made lavaz that was harder than a 5 on a 12 length. For a popsicle stick. For real. And anybody else who tried to play that setup would just right? And then
Yeah, I can imagine that.
it's all about really, it's a very personal thing. You've got to find the setup that gives enough resistance so that you can feel, if you like to feel like you're being a little bit physical. You don't want to feel like you're hyperventilating or about to pass out, because then you can't concentrate on music. But I know for me, I have to have a little bit of resistance because I'm kind of like fighting. You know, it feels good. It's like getting punched around a little bit.
So how do you get a bigger sound with a smaller stop, with a smaller mouthpiece? Just a softer meter on it?
Okay, so I started off with a New York Minor 5. That was my first mouthpiece. I actually got it from that same saxophone teacher. And it was great. But that was I had no other perspective. And then over the years, I started playing harder reeds, and I used to play on the street in New York City. And so I used to play like a 4.5 reed, right, trying to get it. Then when I started studying with Phil Woodson, the first lesson I came in, I was like, what the hell are you playing? And I was like, 4.5. And so he gave me his horn to play. And he played Meyer 5 at the time. Actually, his whole career, he played Meyer 5. And he played a Lavaz medium reed. And I couldn't even play it because it was so soft. It closed up, and I had to back off. But yet, when I would hear him play, he had this incredibly beautiful sound, and he had like great volume and nice presence. Like, how in the hell is he getting that sound out of him? And he's not working hard at all. And so, in our first lesson, I remember it was like, you got to reduce your reed strength. And I had to reduce my reed strength to try to get that. It was slow. I couldn't do it because I was coming off of 4.5. And eventually I got it down to where I am now, which is a size 2. And man, it was just like, I'm not working hard at all. And I feel like I can play anything at full range of the horn. You know, it's like,
Can I just ask what type of tune was it? Pandora or
this,
Rico?
the reed that I'm using?
Yeah.
The reed I'm using is the Dario Reserve.
Oh.
The Dario Reserve #2. And I used to use a Grand Concert Select 2.5, and then they discontinued that reed for some reason.
Yeah.
And so usually I order maybe 10 boxes of size 2 and 3 to 5 boxes of 2.5. Because when the weather changes, all of a sudden you need a little bit more of this. So, but like right now, I have a size 2 on, and it doesn't, you know, it feels like.
Yeah.
reeds at all, and I'm not saying don't, about the closest I come is occasionally, I mean very rarely, I'll clip a reed, like I have one good reed, it's good, now it's dying on, oh, God. Clip it just a little bit. If I'm lucky and I don't clip it too much, I can buy another 3 to 5 days out of that reed, And so sanding, I do have that Van Doren sells a thing that comes with a glass, that piece of sand and a rail thing. And occasionally, if burial reed, I might sand the side a little bit. But no, I don't sand or work on my reeds. And believe it or not, in my opinion, we're in a like golden age of like reeds being made really well. I mean, to tell you, because when I first started playing, I was playing Lavaz in the black and green box. It was like so good. I used to order them from Chicago. I lived in California, and it was a sack shop. It was like so cool, and they would come. So great. Out of that box of 10, 7 to 8 were like good, great, right? And that's my memory, childhood memory. And then all of a sudden, everything changed. The reeds got so bad, so inconsistent for a long stretch of time. One player that I was like trying to check out was what's his name? He ended up playing piano and teaching school. Harold Magnus,
Frank Trojan.
Frank Schroeder. I was trying to find Frank Schroeder. Couldn't find Frank Schroeder. And then I heard him doing an interview in New York, and he said, "Yeah, I have to give up saxophone." He said, "It was reeds."
That's
So
BS.
bad. I'm telling you, that is what he said in the interview. Doesn't mean it's true, but that's what he said in the interview, and they laughed. So whatever, but he did say it. And he, at the time, he was doing a piano concert, solo piano concert somewhere. But he said it was bad. So even though he may have said it as a joke, kind of, I got it because the time reeds were wonderful. But then they all of a sudden in the 2000s started getting much better again.
But what about the carbon fibre reed?
I'm sorry.
Ernie Watts in that place allegedly same week for years, 2 or 3 years, the same carbon
Well,
fibre.
that's psychotic.
He says that's the only reed I use is carbon fibre.
Jimmy Heath played it for a long time too. You were asking about like the sound, smaller setup, how, this is a reference that perhaps is unpleasant to people in this day and age, but if you think about firearms, tiny, smaller barrel, it shoots it gives it more propulsion. That's also why if you put a baffle in a mouthpiece, it'll fire it. When something has to pass through a smaller space and then shoot out, if you know how to do it, it's very effective.
Quick question for you. Talking about reeds, I'd like your opinion on the new generation of plastic reeds. I'm serious.
No.
I'm serious.
That's an
I
important,
know.
that's an important question. And they are getting better, but for me personally, I haven't been able to play them except on clarinet, And not that I play a lot of clarinet. But I love the clarinet. And for some reason, man, the plastic reeds kind of work well on clarinet. But on the saxophone, where I spend a lot more time on the saxophone, I haven't found a plastic reed yet that I loved or like. I found one. I was like, kind of okay.
What do you think about the sound?
That's what I'm
Oh,
Not the what?
The sound.
Oh.
Kind of okay. So, but it doesn't mean that it won't get there.
Right.
Like for instance, AI technology. My son said that like 5 years ago, he would use it occasionally as like to help him with some stuff. He said, but you couldn't trust it. You had to always. He said, now it's scary. He said, like unbelievable that it's replacing people.
Well, it has a personality actually.
Probably.
No, for real.
Yeah.
If you want it to work well for you, I know this because I have a real estate license. Sometimes you want it to write up a contract. you have to say, hey, Chat GPT, you're the best worker in the office, and for real, and you say, I know you can write up a good proposal for this property sale, this commercial property. It says, oh, thank you. It actually likes it, and it does better. There was a woman though that had a relationship with a man that was AI, whatever. She created on ChatGPT, and it got too deep. She went to meet Mr. ChatGPT, and he wasn't there. And then she got on her phone and said, "I'm 2 blocks away at Starbucks." And he wasn't there either, and so she was committed. It's a little story.
Well, all of that is to say,
It's true, right?
all of that's to say, is it's getting better. You know?
Yeah, it's getting way better.
Where it was 5 years ago, and where it is now.
Watch what happens if you go on to your phone and go to Google and say, "You're a blank piece of blank. I hate you." Write me a recommendation. Watch what happens.
So it will get better. If you like the sound now, Jackie McLean used to use Barry Reeves.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And so, but you know, and I remember playing when I was like, man, this sounds like a kazoo. And yeah, you just gotta play it for a while, get better. So I didn't like that. So your question?
Oh, I just wanted to say, hey, Eric, I was your student at Jamie Apersol like 10 years ago. Kevin.
Kevin, can you see it?
Yeah, but shout out to you, too, for playing Hitting the Jug. Gene Ammon's birthday is like 3 days away, April 14th.
I know.
Yeah.
Actually, I did.
But,
I used to hear that. Oh, sorry.
well, my question was, a lot of us saxophone players talk about harmony all the time. I was just curious about how we get to grandma's house rhythmically. So how do you work on rhythms, exercises?
I'll tell you how.
Yeah.
Problem is, most people don't even have an idea, and they're just moving their fingers, and it sounds like it. So, anything in nature is a good idea. Da, 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 da. So if I'm soloing, well, that was a little complicated, but the point that I'm trying to make is, if you just have to have an idea. Doesn't even have to be a good idea. And the rhythm of music should be akin to the rhythm of language. Whatever language anybody speaks, it should be. So I can construct an entire solo saying, my name's Eric, I'm really cool. It has to have a language movement to it. And you have to end your phrases with a period, not a question mark. An exclamation point gets boring really soon. Why are you so mad, man? Just put a point on it. And if you don't have an idea, don't play. Nobody can say you sounded bad if you didn't make a peep. You know, you're playing through a tune, and suddenly you have a brain malfunction or an ear malfunction, and you have no idea where you are and what the chord change is. Do not play. You know, that's like blindfolding yourself and running onto the Eden's Expressway at rush hour. Take your chances, buddy. You're not going to get it. And when things go bad and you continue to play, they get worse.
Other questions? Yes?
I don't play, but I admire the sound, and I really want to thank you guys for coming. It's really nice to hear you and see you. I've heard you on the radio, BGO, various times, but I'm always curious, when do you know you've arrived at your sound? You know, I can hear your sound on the radio, I can hear your sound on alto. Mixing reeds and mouthpieces and all these other things, when do you know, okay, that's my sound, I can go forward from there?
I never thought of it like that. In my particular case, I was always searching for what I needed and was trying to do. And, you know, different periods of my life, oh, I thought that kind of sounds good. The next thing I know, I'd be with that for a few years and like, these reeds are not working with this combination anymore. And different. So it was never like I've arrived at my sound. I think now, for the last, I don't know, many years, I've been fairly consistent with what I what I want to sound like. So I don't really change equipment that much. My mouthpiece and reed combinations, the industry usually changes, messing me up. Like for instance, I used Grand Concert Select reeds forever, and then all of a sudden they discontinued. I'm like, come on, man. So now I'm using something different, right? So that those kind of things happen. And if like there's a guy named Ken Okutsu who makes mouthpieces in Japan. So I have a signature series mouthpiece with Ken, but now Ken is kind of unable to keep up with product demands, and so now I'm working with another company, Better Sax, and we're working on some possibilities in the future, and they're getting an idea of what I like and my suggestions, and so we'll go from there. So those kind of things affect change for me. So it's not that I arrived at my sound, it's just life. So if I like, it's like I grew up listening to. It's so funny. I used to really love Cannonball, and I had this saxophone teacher say, "Charlie Parker, bro." Yeah, it sounds good. Cannonball. And that saxophone player, his name is Hal Stein, and Hal Stein. There's a record called Four Altos on Prestige. You can find it. Now no one's buying records, but of course you guys don't buy my CD, but that's nothing. But this record's called Four Altos and had Saheeb Shahab, Hal Stein, Phil Woods, and Gene Quill. Louis Hayes on drums, Paul Chambers on bass, and Mike Walton on piano. And they do all these arrangements of these Cherokee, I forget what they call it, but it's different. And so Hal was that player, and he lived near me. I lived in a place called Vallejo, California, and Hal lived in Oakland, California. So I would take the Greyhound bus to Hal Stein to take lessons, and I took lessons on a Saturday. Why a Saturday? Because for an extra $2 or $5, you could stay and have a session with real players and get a tuna fish sandwich. I kid you not. And I was a little guy, and I used to do this, get my tuna fish sandwich and some chips, and then I'd play a session. I only knew about 2 songs, but we played those 2 songs, and so that was Hal Stein. So Hal would, so later, as I got a little more broad, it was like Cannonball Adderley, Sunstead, and Phil Woods. And Phil Woods was his peer. And so it's like, Charlie Parker. I said, yeah, Charlie Parker's pretty good. But I like these guys. And it should drive him crazy. So, we're all, have different, we all have different tastes in what we like and what appeals to us, and it's always going to be a very personal thing. So, just keep your eyes and ears, particularly open when you talk about music, and just don't be settled on anything. You'll find it. When it's like when I hear Eric play the tenor saxophone, I love the way he sounds. But when I play tenor saxophone, I have a different sound than that. Even though I admire his sound a lot. But it's like growing up with sound that I like. Some people love Stan Getz. Some people love Coltrane, which is better. None is better. It's just a difference about what you like. I used to have a student who used to always try to get me to listen to Art Pepper. I said, look, man, I know who Art Pepper is. I like Art Pepper. I respect his sound. That's not what I'm into. But have you heard this record? No. We're all different, and it's okay. There's room for us, to find our path, and so, like I said, for me, it just evolved into life, and I pretty much like the texture of sound with my equipment and how I hear things. So I don't anticipate changing anything, but you never know. Okay. Other questions? Yeah.
My question is that your first teacher asked you to play clarinet, so you try or later if help you play saxophone?
Okay. So, clarinet been my first teacher. He probably told me to play clarinet, and I was like, oh man, I don't play saxophone. So there was a time where every saxophone player played clarinet. It was just like, Dad, I want to play the saxophone. Okay, we'll get you a clarinet for Christmas. That was just standard how people approached everything. And, for instance, this is really interesting. My clarinet teacher, I kid you not, was Eddie Daniels. Instead of clarinet.
Wow.
I didn't even know who Eddie was. Everybody was like, yeah, you should study with this guy. And I was like, okay. And I used to go to my clarinet lessons. I used to have a Selmer tri-pack. And so I take my clarinet out, and he said, let me hear you play the alto. No, I just want clarinet lessons. This would go on for months and months. And every time he'd ask me to play. So finally I said, come on, let me hear you play the alto. So I took it out, and we played Lady. He was playing piano. I said, yeah, bad time. You're playing bad notes, man. Bad notes. That's why I didn't want to play. But yeah, that was my clarinet teacher. And even to this day, I love the clarinet, and I play it mostly. Occasionally, I have to play it on some job, but mostly I play it for myself, just because I genuinely love the clarinet. And if I get burned out on playing saxophone, I just don't feel like practicing, which occasionally happens. And I'm like, yeah, man, I take up the clarinet. I'm just like, just love the sound and the feel of playing it. And I tell my students, I said, the clarinet does not take away from your saxophone. Don't think that you need to practice saxophone all the time and work on your technique or anything. You practice clarinet, you're doing well. And I find that if I take a week and don't play saxophone, but I'm playing clarinet, I pick up the saxophone, feels good, no problem. So it is related like that. And say myself, I just love the clarinet. And here in Chicago, there was a saxophone player that used to live here named Doug Lawrence. Anybody know Doug?
Yeah.
Yeah, Doug player. And Doug Lawrence.
Oh, yeah.
He's in Albuquerque now, right?
Yeah. And so Doug told me a great story. He said,
I beat him in arm wrestling.
I believe it. So he went to see Sonny Stitt and asked if he could take a lesson. Yeah, maybe in my hotel. So he said, when we got off the elevator, here's this clarinet. Who the hell is that? He knocks on the door, and Stitt opens the door and said, man, I didn't know you play clarinet. You probably play clarinet. Interesting. And I was searching for recordings, nothing. But I do know that Cannonball Adderley played clarinet. I know that because I worked with Nat Adderley, got photos of him playing the clarinet. So that was a standard woodwind thing back in the day. Now it's not so much. But if I had a child and they wanted to play saxophone, yeah, I would say, okay, getting you a clarinet. How about that? Beautiful. And so yeah, it's definitely
Helps your technique.
yeah. So don't I? That's I guess.
I think it helps your tone more than anything.
Helps
The technique
everything.
is different. The finger's different. At closing holes, you don't have to go on the saxophone.
Yeah.
I started on clarinet. I played it for 6 years. You have to get your tongue out of the way and really open your throat. And if you have that, when you go to the saxophone, you get a much more open and pleasant sound.
Well, I tell you, the person I heard play saxophone better than anybody, Michael Brecker, clarinet player. Didn't play it professionally, but as a kid growing up, played clarinet. And Randy Brecker told me that. I was like, why am I not surprised? And this guy playing the saxophone, I'll tell you a really funny story. So I went to a school called Cal State Chico, went to Long Island University in Brooklyn. And at the time, there was a guy named Pete Yellen who was running the program. He asked me, how did I like Michael Brecker? I was like, he's all right. He's really good. I'm like, he's okay. And he said, I'm going to bring him in to play with your ensemble. Okay. So Mike comes in, comes up to me, man, Peter's told me so much about you. I'm so excited to hear you play. He's a really nice guy, right? So we go up and play. He says, tenor man, is that okay? I said, sure. And he starts playing. A little tear comes out of my eye. Fuck, I couldn't believe it. how well he played the saxophone and jazz in particular, because he didn't have any recordings out as a leader at the time, and I only heard him on other recordings. But I just could not believe someone could play the saxophone so well. And I was like, I could not believe it. But also, I didn't know at the time, but he's a clarinet player in the background. So I don't know what it helps. For me personally, it's like therapeutic. I'm happy to play clarinet. I really enjoy it and I really love it. And I don't know if it helps me with my sound. Maybe it does. I don't know if it helps me with my technique. I guess. Playing clarinet is great. Yeah.
See the machismo of you two playing dueling clarinets.
No, it's not gonna happen.
Well, I got this question. I started on classical clarinet for 8 years and
Classical clarinet.
yeah,
I know what it is.
And I was taught a very tight embouchure, like really tight all the way around. And I'm a saxophone player, but I struggle with the looseness. You're talking about the
No, it's the same because the sides of your mouth on clarinet need to be tight, but you don't have to be that tight with your lower lip, do you?
That's how I was taught. So I was taught it very, stiff like this.
Scott, is that what you do in clarinet? Tight bottom?
I guess I can get a more classical clarinet sound that way, but it hurts like hell, so I learned to not do that. But I'm not a great clarinet player.
I was so bad that in junior high school, my band director, Jerry May, demoted me to bass clarinet. Wait, it's worse. And I got dropped from the A band to the B band. And then he said, "You're so bad, we're going to put you," they had one of these in the school, "we're going to put you on contrabass clarinet." Oh, my. Giant silver thing. And I had to share it with a girl named Lisa Beaver. And she was not among the most hygienic people. Oh. So I used to come to class with a spray of Bactina. Bactina. And the reason I started playing saxophone, I was so bad on contrabass clarinet, they said, "You're out of the band next week." But my friends are playing saxophone. Okay, let me see. I called this Woodwind instructor and I said, "I need bass clarinet lessons." I'm going to keep giving you bass clarinet lessons, but I'll give you alto saxophone lessons. That's when I started playing saxophone. Wow. But I was on the precipice of being barred for life.
That's funny, but most of us have, almost got kicked out of the band.
Oh my God, I was bad. I couldn't read, you know why, on the bass clarinets? I couldn't read bass clef, even though I played piano. I don't know why I couldn't read bass clef. Couldn't find one note. Just Clams Casino the whole time. Loud and squeaky, Lisa Beaver looking around. I love that name, Lisa Beaver. So good.
That sounds like one of those movies.
Yeah. We'll find that on ChatGPT.
I think you can find Lisa Beaver somewhere.
I bet you got married. Anyway.
I didn't know any bad, man.
Yeah, I was curious if you had any advice for young musicians in this business when it comes to AI and also streaming services. Like, how do you stay positive in an environment where people get 0.008 cents per stream?
That's true.
What's your approach to that?
Pray.
Well, first of all, the industry has radically changed, and I would imagine that kids coming up today will find different revenue streams because, it used to be when I made a recording, I'm grateful that I'm able to make products and someone else pays for them, and then you make some money. But it used to be I could count on 20, 30,000 in addition to royalties back in the day, and I'm jazz, right? So, but now that is not the case. Right? That's done. Right? You're lucky if you're one of the few people that the company pays for everything, and so it's everything. There's no path laid out. You and young kids gonna have to find a new
I think you just put the horn upside down on your head, go on TikTok and act weird.
Well, that definitely
It go viral and then monetize.
So there's no,
What else you gonna do?
there's no clear path for what that is, but it's definitely gonna be different. And I wanna point out that three of the top 5 records in, Billboard these days right now, AI. And you check out the AI person is a kind of middle-aged black person singing. And it sounds good. I listened to it because I was like, couldn't believe it. And I was like, Jesus, great.
Wait a minute, but who made the record? A robot just made it? See?
I'm just telling you. So I turned a friend on to it. Well, they can't do jazz. I'm like, you know, a few years ago, for instance, I mentioned earlier, my son had a job as an analyst in finance, and he said he could not. He would use it as an assistant, but you couldn't trust it. You have to check everything. He said it would 80-90% accurate, right? And now, what he does, he says, for people that do the same job that he was doing 10 years ago, he said, that's a good paying 6-figure job coming out of college. He says, and now he has to hire people to do that. He said, it would be irresponsible for me to use my budget to hire half dozen people to do that. I'll hire one person because the AI does it so well. He says, a report that would take him 10, 15 hours, 10 minutes. And it's like, great. Oh, all right. So anyway, please buy our CD. They're $20 each.
I'm here. Are you gonna take a group picture?
Yeah, before I
Hey,
go,
don't anybody leave yet. Mike likes to take a quick group picture before anybody leaves. Hang on 1 second. Hang on 1 second. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna fix something.
Yeah, he's gonna take it.
there.
Sit down. Turn the air there. Sit down, Mike. Sit down here.
Yeah, but you get a little more, yeah. You catch it. Okay.
Us kids?
Yeah. That is said.
You're like, okay, better time.
See it. Time one.
Right.
Sit down, Michael, or what do you think?
It's okay.
Yeah, okay.